Hello, I'm Wallace Allen. The name of the show is Empire Talks Back. My first guest will be Mr. Danny Tillman, a member of the San Bernardino Unified School District for the last 23 years. We'll be back right after this short break.
Fast-paced family life in need of a slowdown?
Hello, I'm Dr. Spruce. Did you know all those green shapes on maps are parks and forests? It's true. Visit discovertheforest.org and plan to visit a park or forest near you, instead of just wondering what it would have been like.
While the word forest might make you think of distant lands from far, far away, please note parks and forests are closer than you think, which means things like beautiful scenery, fresh air, and family time are also closer than you think.
Welcome back. Once again, I'm Wallace Allen, and you are watching Empire Talks Back. I'd like to introduce my guest, Mr. Danny Tillman.
Hello, how you doing, Wallace?
Danny, how are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me today.
My pleasure. Danny, for the last 23 years, you've been a member of the San Bernardino Unified School District. Why did you decide to run for election?
School district?
Yes.
Well, I had been volunteering in the community for years. From the time I was 18 years old. I grew up in a household, youngest of 5 kids, and when I graduated from high school, I saw a lot of people, even at that time, that I thought could have been a lot more successful if they had been born and raised in my house. And so I said, my mother and father taught us about the system and how important education was and how important it was to avoid trouble. And so I immediately went back and started volunteering. And I had done that for a number of years. We served as first, second, and third vice president of NAACP, and some stuff happened with some teachers, were treated unfairly, and I led a movement to get support for those teachers. They got their jobs back, and then people came to me and said, hey, we need somebody that cares about our community and willing to fight for the issues. We need you to be on the school board.
So running for the school board initially wasn't your idea?
No, not at all. Not at all. And I got a call from the different communities. I don't know if you know Lily Rivera, and her husband is, I can't think of his name, but Lily Rivera and her husband are icons in the Hispanic community. They do the Hispanic leadership. And so they called me. And then a number of people from the African American community had called me. And I worked for the county for a long time, so a lot of the folks I work with in the county told me that I should run for office because of the name recognition I had and just my reputation of helping people.
So with this community support, you investigated and looked into the school district. Why did you finally decide to run?
Because I had been an activist for so long, meaning that you fight and jump up and down and beg to get a little thing accomplished. And I realized if I got elected to the school board, I could get a whole bunch of things done without the resistance. It wasn't a fight. You'd be part of the process, and you could get a whole lot more things accomplished because you're in control of hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions of dollars.
Hundreds of millions. So the school district budget is $670 million. Yes.
When you were elected, what was one of the first things that you focused on doing?
Because I'm in technology, I wanted to make sure our students at the high school level had access to the latest and greatest technology. So I wanted to upgrade the labs, but that was the impetus. Because I wanted to do that, it was going to cost about $1 million. The person who was the finance person at the district at the time said they didn't have the money. Now, I worked at the treasurer's office when I first got elected. When I first got there.
Your job with the county?
My job with the county.
And that title, your job title there with the county?
Departmental Information Systems Administrator. I was in charge of all the technology. But when I got elected to the school board, they gave me a copy of the budget. It was Hardy Brown, actually, Hardy Brown Sr. He said, I never really understood this budget. And he handed it to me. And it was about 400 pages long. I took it to the elected treasurer. He flipped through some pages, said, wow, you have a lot of money. Showed it to a couple other people. They told me the same thing. Then I got to a point where I understood it like I understand my own checkbook. And I knew we had the money to do it. So make a long story short, one day from the dais, after begging for a year to get these new labs in all my high schools, from the dais said, I want to upgrade all our high school labs to Windows-based Microsoft Office systems so that when our kids leave high school, they can get a job immediately. Okay. And the finance guy said, we don't have the money to do it. So the board president turned to me and said, our finance guy tells us we don't have the money. You say we have the money. What do you want us to do? And I said, well, bring in an outside person. And that's what we did. We brought in an outside person, fiscal services from the state of California. They came in and said, not only can you spend an additional $1 million, you can spend an additional $20 million. And with that, we brought back the music program. We did the high-tech lab I wanted, and we started talking about building Royal Valley High School. That was the impetus for that.
Very good. So you've been on the school board 23 years.
23 years, been elected 6 times.
Elected 6 times.
Yes, sir.
What is your proudest moment of experience with the school board?
Well, you know, to tell you the truth, it's the big and the small. So the small is, like today I was on the phone, a lady wanted to get her child in a school that she knew was best for her child. And so I made some phone calls to make sure that she's going to get her student in that school that she wants her student into. On the big scale of things, when you look at our district, we've built 16 brand new schools since I've been on the school board, opened them all. And in doing that, we still have a balanced budget. Given every household in my school district can get a free Chromebook and access to the internet. We pay $10 a month for the internet. That was my idea to do it, got the other board members to support me, so we immediately eliminated the digital divide in San Bernardino. Every high school, every household with a student in my district gets a free laptop, and we pay for the internet to make sure they have access to the internet. And it's not just for the student. I make sure we make it clear that when that laptop's at home, that the parents can use it also. Because nowadays, you can't function without access to the internet.
Absolutely. And, you know, there's the question of how well those computers are secured. Are they missing? Because we had a big scandal when I think Los Angeles City Unified School District attempted to do that, and there were computers lost, computers taken home. What's the status of the computers?
Big difference. Because my background is IT, I was able to identify the value in a Chromebook. A Chromebook lasts 9 hours. It's inexpensive. You can get one for about $200. Because we did this, T-Mobile partnered with us and said, we'll come in and give you $200 towards every device.
Really?
Yeah. So we paying about $70 a device for some of our systems, and we have to buy the service for 2 years from now. But so for the price that you would pay for one iPad like LA Unified did, we get 5 Chromebooks for that same price.
You mentioned that during the course of 23 years that you've been on the board that some 16 schools have been built?
16 schools, yes.
Now, as we look at that type of construction, that must have cost a lot of money.
Actually,
could you estimate how much money was involved?
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
But you have to remember, when I got on the board, there's a program that used to be called hardship funding. Because 90% of our kids qualify for free and reduced lunch, we were able to get our schools built for 100% funding from state bonds. But you have to remember this. Those are state bonds. So everybody in the state that pays property taxes is paying on that. But the district...
Am I paying for other people's schools in other cities?
You are.
Okay,
and
so I shouldn't be too overly elated that
do you live
I
in San
got away with
Bernardino?
it. Well, I have for a period of time, but I live in Highland now.
Okay, well, Highland's part of our school district.
Yeah.
So you've benefited from it because my district has built more schools per capita than any other district in the state of California.
My question is, with that $1 billion of spending, construction,
That's right.
materials,
That's right.
supplies,
That's right.
how much of that were you able to, or is there any focus on keeping as much of that spending local?
No doubt about it. It was. And on every level. And make sure that everyone had an opportunity to get to business. I had people literally who quit working in my district because there were jobs like construction management where the law said you didn't have to have a competitive process. And so they wanted to give the jobs only to people they've known for a long time. And I said, no, we have to open up to a competitive process. Construction management firms get 4% of every job. One of the people who benefited from that was OJB Construction, who was Otis Clopton at the time. So I made sure that there's a fair process. That's another one of the reasons why I love being on the school board, because I can make sure the process is fair. Not just in terms of people getting business, but also the employees. Make sure if there's someone that's being treated unfairly because of some type of personality conflict, but they're doing a good job, that in the end, the board is the final check in the checks and balances. So if I hear about something going wrong, I have no problem pulling it from the personnel item and talking about it in closed session and make sure everybody's treated fairly. So I love it from that perspective also.
I'm going to bring up race here for a moment.
Okay.
When you first ran for for the
School board.
there had been African Americans on the school board before.
There have.
You were elected, and I know there was a groundswell of the African American community to support you.
It was.
But since then, members of the African American community have sometimes been angry with you, just like other people have. You have a remarkable sense of balance, and Danny, I've heard people be angry with you,
That's right.
but I've never heard anybody disrespect you. What's involved with it?
Because
I mean, I've seen you tick off some of the people that we both know and respect.
that's right. No, but when I ran the last time, I told people I'm always surprised that I get reelected. And I was sitting next to one of my assistant superintendents, and I told him, I'm surprised I keep getting reelected because I piss off so many people. And he said, but they all know you always looking at it from the perspective of what's going to benefit the student. And so you may get into an argument with somebody, but in the end, your only goal is to do what's best and what's right. And that's the truth. So yeah, I get into a lot of arguments with people, but it always comes back around to, I'm going to make sure we do what's right for our students.
With that valuable position that you've occupied now for 23 years, been elected to that position 6 times, have you been opposed?
Oh, sure, I've been opposed. I'm the longest serving board member right now. But
of course, when people run for board, but they don't run against a particular person, they run against.
But every time I run, there's 10, 11, 13 people that run against me. And I ran 6 times. I guarantee you 4 out of those 6 times, I was the biggest vote getter. Because I do a lot to help people. I've been over backwards to help people. Everybody has my cell phone number.
So from that valuable position, now you've decided to run for the mayor of San Bernardino.
Exactly.
What is prompting you to leave this position that may be tested, but it's secure for you?
It is.
It's very beneficial to the citizenry.
It is.
What is it that attracts you or is pushing you to run for the mayorship of San Bernardino?
Because the circumstances in the city of San Bernardino have been dire for so long. And really, it just takes somebody with common sense to come in and do a few things to turn it around. And it's obvious things.
So when you say common sense...
I'll give you a good example. Making it safe, making the city safe, making the city look a whole lot better, taking care of city and citizens. And when I say making it safe, I'll give you a good example. Obviously, they can make a big difference. Between LA and San Bernardino, between LA County and San Bernardino, there's only 2 parole officers. One's in San Bernardino and one's in Victorville. And so remember though, Ontario has about 200,000 people. Rancho Cucamonga has 200,000 people. What's the other big one? Fontana has about 200,000 people. Rialto, you're talking about 1 million people. San Bernardino has about 200,000. So with that included, about 1 million people being serviced at a city with a population of 200,000. But everybody who gets parole has to go to 5th and Arrowhead.
Well, with the proposition that released prisoners,
Even more.
So
Even
we have
more being released from parole. And here's a simple thing everyone understands. So you have 50 parole agents at Arrowhead and 5th. They have a case of about 70. The only group of parolees that have to check in that office once a week are the ones that become homeless. So you can have someone who committed burglary or robbery or whatever, a sex offender in Ontario or Rancho Cucamonga, but they come to San Bernardino, they become homeless, they're going to stay homeless around that building. And my thing is...
So you're saying focusing on the homeless people who are offenders who need to check into probation for some reason, parole.
Right.
San Bernardino is a magnet for those because of the fact that San Bernardino has the only parole office other than in Victorville in the county.
For the whole county, yes.
So why don't we have one in Ontario?
Exactly. And my thing was, I would suggest making a law that says if you are a city with a population over 100,000, you have to have a parole office that services the people who used to live and committed the crime in your city.
But can you, from the city, make that rule? Is that something that's got to be
no doubt about it. You got to remember, the city's in charge of the planning, ordinances. Every office has to have a permit. We can pass an oil ordinance, but you can do it in a nice way. For me, the first step is to find out who is directly in charge. They might move it on their own. If not, then you deal with your local legislators to get it moved.
In the
But that's just one
concept
example.
of public safety.
That's just one example that would change numbers in the downtown San Bernardino immediately. You take that money that you're going to save in resources because the fire, the police don't have to be called to service some of these folks, and now you use that just for the folks of San Bernardino. And then you take some of that money and start beautifying San Bernardino. Fifth Street Park, to me, should look like Disneyland because so many people go by there. All our parks.
Succumby Lake Park.
Succumby Lake. So all our parks should be beautiful. If we have this many warehouses.
Now, Succumby Lake is a state park.
No, it's not. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
It was a state park, but they turned over ownership to the city.
And it's kind of like dropping your babies off at the fire department and keeping on
It doesn't
going.
have to be a bad thing, though. It could be a good thing. I love open space. I think open space is good. You have to manage it right. I was in a forum the other day, and the mayor said he had a surplus of $30 million. And I told the mayor, you don't have a surplus. A surplus is money you have left over after all your needs are met. All your needs are not met. So therefore, you have money that hasn't been spent, but that money needs to be spent on needs throughout the city of San Bernardino, whether it's potholes, whether it's servicing more homeless, whether it's making sure our parks and baseball fields and football fields are brought to par for the youth, creating more things for the youth to be excited about. But once you make San Bernardino safe, once you make San Bernardino beautiful, then you're going to lure people to come back, want to live in San Bernardino. Then you're going to have companies that want to come back and open up and take advantage of the vast space. I keep telling people I want to make the city of San Bernardino as beautiful as the mountains that surround it.
Very good. Danny, we are out of time.
Wow, that was great.
But we're not out of time for people to find out more about you. How can they get in touch with you? Do you have a website?
DannyTillman.com, www.DannyTillman.com.
Do you discuss your visions for the future in terms of the economics, in terms of other methods of public safety?
I do. And if you look on my website and go to my Facebook page, I have a number of videos out there where people have recorded me in forums and given answers to many questions across the spectrum.
Well, Danny, maybe we'll get a chance to have you on again prior to the election or after the primary. But it's a pleasure to see you still committed to serve.
Oh, yeah.
And folks, if you got the information.
You got a problem solver here. You got to identify the problem. You need somebody with the ability to identify the problem and solve the problem.
Danny, you said everybody has your cell number.
909-800-0318. Again, 909-800-0318. That's my cell phone number.
Gabriel, be sure to put that up on the screen. Danny, once again, a pleasure.
Thank you.
We'll see you down the road here. I don't
Thank
know,
you,
maybe
Mr.
I'll be calling you mayor next time I see you.
I hope so.
Very good. Thank you.
you.
We'll be right back with our next guest. Stick around.
Love is kind, faithful and true.
Mama. I talked to God last night.
You don't care about Stratton getting killed. He wasn't your son, he was mine.
You know we don't curse in this house. And you lower your voice.
Here comes here right now. We'll talk later. Much later.
Such a beautiful house.
She sure does.
She did good.
She has a good man.
Yeah.
I don't have everything. Don't you know we have no sex life? Who told you to drink that wine?
Is Mr. LC home already?
What is the sin?
Getting pregnant out of wedlock.
But can you please just leave my food alone and leave my house? Mama, what did you do to me?
What are you talking about?
You have to let go of that stuff that Mama did, okay? Because if you don't, then you will go crazy.
Oh, Lord, you don't have any idea how blessed you are. I remember I used to have to sign my own report card.
You know, Mom, people tend to forget. God has the last word.
Welcome back. I am again still Wallace Allen, but I have another guest for you, Mrs. Daz Patterson. Daz, how are you doing?
I am blessed.
You probably recognize Daz from TV commercials, some movies. Maybe you've been lucky enough to see her on stage. Daz, you have a nonprofit organization.
Yes.
Tell us about your nonprofit and what you do.
Our nonprofit organization is Patterson Nonprofit Inc.
PNP.
Productions.
Productions. And
yes.
you're a playwright, you're an actress, you're a singer?
Minister, singer.
Minister.
Yes.
And I'm not going to say anything that is not complimentary about my good friend that happens to be married to you. Okay. You guys have been married how many?
Almost 60 years.
How many children?
3.
3 children, wonderful contributors to society.
Yeah.
And once again, you're a great actress, great writer, great performer. You're here today because we're announcing your movie premiere.
Yes.
The name of the movie is Look, I'm Still Here.
Right.
Okay, and the premiere is going to take place on the 12th of May at Sturgis Auditorium in the city of San Bernardino.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about why you're involved with theater and movies and why you've decided to do this movie.
Well, this particular movie we decided to do after I was given about 4.5 months to live. I had terminal cancer. And
that was more than 4.5 months ago.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
that was in 2008.
Praise the Lord again for proving that man doesn't necessarily know what he's talking about.
There you go.
Okay. That's a real blessing.
Yes.
So with that renewed energy, you decided to get involved with the making of the movie?
Yes. Okay. I wanted others to know that there is hope. This is why we're doing this particular movie, is because so many people think that when the doctor says cancer, they tend to think that's a death sentence. And I want people to know it is not a death sentence. That means I should have been dead in 2010, but God kept me here. And I want people to know that only God can do what happened to me. Only God.
What are we looking at in terms of the storyline?
In the storyline, I began when I was young. The story began when I was a little girl, and the things that I went through as a little girl, and the things that my sister had to encounter. And then we go to the next stage where we talk about during the time when you became pregnant out of wedlock, there were certain things that you had to do. You were considered a bad girl.
The boy wasn't considered a bad boy.
No,
but the
no,
girl.
but the girl was.
I don't want to get real political about too many things, but you know how I am, and I just am amazed how willing men are to put themselves in the decision-making place about what should happen with women in terms of their bodies. My editor at West Side Story, Miss Naomi Bondman, has a piece that she's doing, and part of it, I noticed that she has a little saying that women are not made out of braille. You do not need to touch them to see them.
Right.
So with that and understanding that society has a definite second class or third class or fourth class attitude about what should happen with women, and so you're discussing some of that in your movie.
Yes, and not knowing that I could not have gotten pregnant alone.
Right.
I had to have a male
They
in
certainly
order to
weren't
do
going
that.
to give you credit for being married.
Right.
Okay.
Oh no. So it shows the part where women become subservient to men, and how God said, no, this is, you are as valuable as the man.
Does your movie make a statement that you individually are here? Are we speaking more for women? Are we speaking more for a group as we make that statement about making it through diversity and still being not just here, but here with pride, here with some level of arrogance, some level of power, and a desire to still do things to help people?
Right. Well, the title that I chose, Look, I'm Still Here, it has to do with the fact that I was only given a little time to live. And I think people need to know that man has a say, but God has the final say.
This is not your first effort
No.
with the movie.
No.
You've made movies before.
Yes.
And you've done it utilizing talent from basically around the Inland Empire.
Yes.
Many of the people who are successful from the Inland Empire and in the Inland Empire have been exposed to their craft and getting a chance to polish their craft as a result of working with you.
Yes.
What are some of the things that you've done in the past?
We did a movie about spousal abuse.
Yes.
And that particular movie is a true story also. It's a movie about my sister. I like doing true stories because you can always point to the outcome, and you have a basis in which to say it. This is why we're doing this.
A moral to the story.
Yes.
Some
yes.
purpose beyond just being a star. Now, we all would like to be stars. And,
right.
I'd like you to consider me for your next movie at any point. I'm willing to go to class and all that stuff. But you have helped many people here in the Inland Empire.
Yes.
How big is the cast of this movie?
We have approximately, it's over 56. We have over 56 people. And we use different churches from the Inland Empire, too, in which to do some of the
internal shots.
Right. And some of the pastors from here. Yes. Yes. And we use...
Can you name some of the people that will be, well, I guess we could say did some cameos, or actually were the pastors involved in some script reading?
Yes.
Really?
The pastors were involved in some
Are we
script
about to
reading.
lose some of our pastors to Hollywood?
No. Well, they did what they would normally do at their church.
Okay.
So it was more or less a normal, thing for them. It wasn't.
But they could go to Hollywood to preach again. They could preach in another movie or something like that. But that's exciting. Anytime we get locally the opportunity to be in the movie. So tell us what's going to happen at the premiere. I understand it's a red carpet affair.
Yes, it's a red carpet affair, and we have a group that's going to open for us. They're called the Raptures. And this young lady,
singing, dancing, what is
they're singers.
Okay.
And this young lady is one of the exes of Rick James.
Okay.
And she is now doing gospel. And their CD.
One of the ex-singers with Rick James,
no,
or his ex-wife?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she will have a CD coming out soon. So this is like getting them set to
take charge of the world.
Yes, with their CDs. And this is like helping them to get started.
Are there any children in your movie?
Oh, yes. We have...
Now, why is it important for you to involve the young people, the children, in your efforts?
Because I think that parents need to allow their children to express themselves in movies. When I was coming up, children were not allowed to express themselves. If you express yourself too much, you gotta
You have to
backhand.
figure out how to do it in pantomime because
Yeah.
children should be seen and not heard.
Not heard.
Right. Okay.
That's what we were taught, and so I use children. I have some. I have a young man who played my brother, and a really neat young lady who played me when I was 5.
Okay.
And just to see how well they did it, you would just be amazed.
What do you recommend for parents who are interested in bringing out the performance potential in their children? It's certainly something that helps them talk to folks. It helps them take charge. It helps them not be afraid and sit in the back row.
Yeah.
What are you doing anything workshop-wise that involves kids?
Yes, actually, I intend to work with a young lady. In June, I will be working with the young lady that is to train young children and teenagers in theater and the movie industry.
Okay, so they learn what camera work. They learned stage blocking,
acting,
itself.
Yeah, acting.
Reading.
Yes,
Reading and interpreting.
And interpreting what they read, and how to, because acting, most people know that acting is reacting. They learn how to react.
Most people are play acting. They think it's play acting. I think it's to be around someone like you who has experience both in front of the camera and also directing.
Yeah.
It's really a treat for them. How can people get in touch with you about tickets for your premiere? And I certainly want them to know that you are our Inland Empire national treasure and that we should be supporting you beyond that. So how can they get in touch with you about your workshops, just to be able to salute Daz Patterson and be part of the Daz Patterson movement?
I will have more about the upcoming events for the children,
the
workshops and
but
stuff.
But your website,
yeah, they can go to my website, and I'm in the process of having the website redone.
Okay.
But right now, if they want tickets, they can go to eventbrite.com and go. You look for "Look, I'm Still Here."
Okay.
The movie, and Daz Patterson.
Okay, so if you want tickets to the premiere, which is going to be May 12th,
May 12th
at Sturgis Auditorium, downtown San Bernardino.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. 6 p.m.
Yes.
Not 6:05.
No.
Okay. 6 p.m. You can go to eventbrite.com and look for the movie title, which is Look, I'm Still Here.
Yes.
Very good. I appreciate you coming in, and I've got my ticket.
All right.
I will definitely be there, and I don't want any super special attention, but maybe I can walk the red carpet or something. And maybe you'll announce that I'll be in your next movie. I don't know. Daz Patterson, it's a pleasure to have you here, and God bless you for your service to the Inland Empire and bringing us to the brink of stardom. We appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Go see this movie. Go to Eventbrite, get your tickets. If you have a problem about finding that ticket, call Wallace, 909-915-7922. That's my cell phone, and I will direct you to how you can get that ticket. I'll probably charge you a couple of dollars extra, but the tickets are what, 20? How much?
They're $12.
$12.
Only 12, yeah.
Oh yeah, I charge you extra. If you can't call her and get that $12 ticket, call me and I'll give you one for 20. Daz, once again, it's a pleasure having you. Yes. I appreciate you very much.
All right, maybe I should give them a number in case they can't. 909-874-3411.
That'll save you $10 because I'll charge you $10 extra. Give them that number again, Daz.
909-874-3411.
God bless you and thank you. Don't forget.
We look forward to seeing you.
Look, I'm still here. Don't miss that play.